The Programs Officer at the African Minerals Development Center, Mkhululi Nkosilamandla says reforming Africa's artisanal and small-scale gold mining sector and financial architecture is key to growing the sector. Now, in a chat with CNBC Africa at the Mining in Motion conference in Ghana, he highlights the continental strategy is vital in coupling geological and mineral information systems with the development of artisanal and small-scale mining across the continent. Have a look.
The focus, which is what as the African Minerals Development Center is happy about in terms of participating at the Mining in Motion Summit, is the artisanal and small-scale gold mining sector. This year, if all goes well, we will also more or less launch the artisanal and small-scale mining continental strategy. It has been a long time coming because a lot of these developments have been going on. There's a lot of back and forth in terms of how we can actually deliver a functional continental strategy. We don't want another strategy that's just on the shelves. And so when this particular summit is going on, it actually works out very well in terms of the way we want to deliver the continental strategy. So it's come at an opportune time, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, it's good to hear about that coming to play, the continental strategy, because when you look at how countries are, and we've always talked about Africa speaking in one voice, understanding that we've all faced similar issues. I was just talking to someone earlier, and I was talking about the mining industry in Nigeria. Though gold is not Nigeria's major resource, but then we could see traces of the challenges here of galamsey in Nigeria, seeing in the small-scale miners, trudging the line, trying to get the resource out of the ground. But looking at the reform code, having a uniform reform code there, what are some of the major challenges that countries face in trying to, iron out regulations to drive this sector?
So artisanal and small-scale gold mining in particular is slightly, how can I put it, challenging when it comes to the issue of reforming comprehensively. A few factors are aligned to ASGM. I'll call it ASGM in short. Because of the financial architecture that most African countries inherited, right? The challenge of decoupling that financial architecture and the way gold was seen back in the day and the way that gold is now supposed to be controlled, right, by sovereign nations, brings about the challenge of how you can literally use the same gold to create sociable wealth for the country. It's always based on creating wealth via exports. Now, if you're going to then change that narrative, we then have to change a whole lot of financial architectures that exist within the continent, and those are already dispersed. So if you want to do it a single way, you need to find one rallying point. And so with the continental strategy, what we're going to do is something that a lot of people have always been talking about, but have never had a strategy to do, and that is couple geological mineral information systems to artisanal and small-scale mining development. That's something that we know everyone, regardless of which financial architecture system exists, that linkage is what everybody has to do. Mining is based on geology. And the day you align the way we do geology on the continent with data that's credible by ourselves, for ourselves, then everyone starts aligning in the way they'll attain.
Yeah, but then it brings up the question about managing interest across the value chain. Looking at the numbers, artisanal miners in Ghana did about 52% just last year. The large-scale miners as well who are trying to coming on board. And I'm trying to imagine when the word reform comes on board, you can imagine the impact it will have across the value chain. Some already people think they're in the advantage position already, and they think that when the reforms come in, they might lose that edge that they have in the industry. I'd like you to speak to that, balancing both reforming and also managing the interest of all the stakeholders involved.
What I'm going to say is not a popular thing, but growth is painful. All growth has pains, and that's why I guess they call them growing pains. This is a way in which Africa will need to grow, and we will need to experience that pain, but not necessarily in a manner that leaves us in a debilitating position to say, oh, this is too much for us to bear, so let's go back to the old way of doing things. It's going to be painful for all players across the board, but the kind of pain that Africa is going to experience is one that just requires patience. You see, patience that's aligned to pain is better off than just pain in general, where you don't know how to solve your issues. We will be solving our own issues. Yes, there will be some losers, but ultimately those losers will not be the continent. And that's the level of viewpoint and perspective that we're coming from with this. And like I said, no one will argue that the alignment of geological and mineral information systems and artisanal and small-scale mining is a game changer. Everyone always complains about why you cannot collateralize any work that artisanal and small-scale miners are doing. It's because they do not have either access to access to adequate geological mineral information systems or any geological mineral information systems at all. So that is why I'm saying, fine, it may seem like it's going to be having some losers, but ultimately we are now moving to doing things correctly as ASM, I think. So because of that, that pain is a good pain.
I'm going to bring in a very critical stakeholder here, which is the communities, because you cannot talk about mining. Every mining exists within the community, and we're ensuring that there's sustainable practices done so that it doesn't the effect of mining doesn't affect the communities adversely. On one hand, is important. Also, ensuring that the communities get the best out of the resource in their locality as well is quite important. And I'd like to know how all of this is captured in that mining code.
So ideally, concerns, or should we say matters of sustainable, or let's start with the social license to operate. This is where we want to ensure nothing is going to be done without community consent. It is definitely a bit more advanced than.
And that was the program's officer at the African Minerals Development Center, Mkhululi Ncube, speaking there.